Hi there, this is Dr. Buddy. Here to talk to you a little bit about Project 11. This is our final project. It is again due on a Tuesday. And we're dealing with classes this time. Now in the card, we've actually been using classes all along, and you got a little closer to it in the card project. Now this time you're going to build a class. Actually going to build two classes, much like you did in the lab. And then you're going to use them. And so let's take a look at this. So our project is dealing with two types of classes. We have a class for grades and we have a class for students. And those two will be put into a classes.py file. And then you're going to use them in two ways. One is you're just going to demonstrate to us that your class actually works. And then you're going to write an application that reads a couple of files and puts the classes together. So so that's kind of like writing a project. The other is the setup for that. So let's take a look at these. Now it turns out that in the book we actually have a student class that's been built in there, and you can use that as a starting point. We tell you in here it is. It's on page 546 of the text. So let's actually start there. All right. So what I've done is I've loaded that class into the into Spider. And now we can use it. I can fire it up and I can say, all right, this is a student class, so let's take S1, and that's student, and it has a first name and a last name and an ID. Call it 12 or something. Now, because in this class there is an str which returns a string, strs always return a string. When you do a print, that's what gets called. Okay, it calls this. So I can, oh, and when I did this first first creation of an instance of the student, that used the init. That's the initial init for initialization, and we call that a constructor, and it takes a first, a last, and an ID, and all of these take self. Okay. And so now so that got used here. Okay. Now let's do let's try out the string, and we can use that saying print, and that will print it. Okay, which is nothing more than the name, the first name, last name, and the ID. Now notice that one thing I can't do is if I try to say, well, just S1 in here like we often do. That doesn't work, and that's because it's missing the REPR. Now it turns out that you can always, if you have an STR, you can always simply, if you don't want this to be different, and you seldom do, you can just call it and return that. So let's add that in there. Let's create a student again, and I can still print it because that calls the str, but now I can also just simply type it here, and I get a big error because I made a mistake. So let's fix that. I meant that to be str. That looks a lot better. Let's put our student in there, we'll print our student calling the str, and now I can do that. That's much better. All right. So you have to have a student class. Now our student class in this project is specified to be a little different. Okay, the student class has, well, let's see here. It's got 4 parameters: the first name, last name, and then a list of grade objects. Okay, so we have a first and second, last, and so I need to have something in here like my grades, and we do a default of none, so I have to do that. And I may want to name these a little bit different, or I could use the same names for first, last, and ID, but then I need to add something down here for my grades. Okay, so I can fix that up, and that's the init. Okay, and it does have to have an str. This will be different, just a little bit different. And particularly, you might want to do some nicer formatting in there, and then the REPR you can actually do exactly this way. Okay. And instead of an update, you have 2. You have add grade and calculate grade. So that's what will go in here. Remember, they all start with self. And add a grade takes a grade object, so it takes a parameter, so it always has self and a parameter, and calculate grade only has self. Now, how do you build your grade class? Well, the class is a class, so what we can do is start with what I have. Okay, now the grade class doesn't have an update, and of course it's called grade. And the grade class has 3 parameters. It has a name, and it has for the assignment, and then it has a grade, which is going to be a float, and a weight, which is also going to be a float. Okay. And if I do that, I also have to fix this up, right? Because that doesn't match anymore. And my str, I've got to fix up what goes in there. And my REPR, I just leave the same. Okay. So we can use this. We can use, in this way we can build it, and that gives you a framework for both of them. And what I'm going to do for the moment, just so I can show you the next thing, I'm not going to put that whole thing together there for you. So I'm just going to comment all that out, so we just have our student class in here. And let me say a couple of things about the test program, right? So we do have to do a test program, and that basically tests out. You just want to demonstrate. You've created this class. Does it in fact work? So let's make a new class here, and in this case, I need to use the name of this particular. I still have. No, let's go back. Let's fix this. Let's go back here. Let's actually save as. Right, let's go fix this. we'll make this the classes.py. There we go. Now it looks a lot more like we intended. So I could say import classes, just to keep my things from getting confused here. Let's restart the. I'm going to restart the kernel, and so now I'm just going to simply type in what I had in my shell before. So in classes, we're going to import classes. We have student, and takes as arguments Joe Smith, and we'll give them some sort of an ID. Now I can print that, and I need to, because this is a demonstration file, I got to talk about what I'm doing. So I say like, oh well, create student instance S1 Joe Smith 22. So now I know what's going on, and then I can say print test printing of S1. And so I can run this. Oh, I need to save it. So this is my proj11 test. This is my video one. And we can now run that. And you see, I say, okay, and now you can see that I printed out what I intended to do, created the student, and then I said, well, let's test and print it, and I did. So this is the kind of thing that your test file will do. And then once you and this is you need to thoroughly test all the pieces of your class. So for example, we see that there's also an update in there. Oh, by the way, we can't test the REPR because we're in a program, not the shell. So there's an update. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's go back and run this again. And so print test update, change last name, something like that. And so what do? S1.update and last equals Doe. We'll go from Smith to Doe. And then now I can do this, and we can see that I added this comment to change the last name. I should have said change it to Doe, and we can see that we have Joe Doe in there now. And so you go through your class and you put in every method that you have. You want to have a test case for it. And then once you've done that, then we have a little program for you to do. And the basic idea there is you read a file of text of students, and you read a file of grades, and then calculate, print them out and calculate an average. And so that's just a short little program to actually use this class that you created. All right, hopefully that gives you enough to get started on this.